Thing that Africa represents the seen in woman, in the African woman. Our pain, our joy, our success, everything that we are is carried by our women. So when we say Africa needs to come together, women will do well on their own. We need a lot of encouragement to build our self-confidence because of our culture.
I think this is one of the biggest things that a successful African entrepreneur brings to the table. They are adaptable. They expect challenges to happen because the environment is not structured, and then they are adaptable to that. So as a country across Africa, you understand things like this shift is reframing the way the Africa looks. Even from when somebody outside of Africa looks at Africa and looks at their opportunity, fintech is already, it's early days, but it's beginning to change the way the country looks, despite policies that don't support that.
Instead of we are more focusing about that there is a problem in our business environment. And the environment was impacted from families, from home. So, and for you as a consulting service provider, you face like those challenges. But I have a question. Do you think that the problem is coming from the leaders of the organizational work or from the frontline officers, or both of them? Welcome to Leaders Institute podcast, the podcast to invite and have a guest like the inspiring and successful leaders in the business world. Today we have from Nigeria, Mr. BODE, the Managing Director of Management Drives. So first, could you please just introduce yourself?
Hi, Aman. So my name is BODE OLUTUNBI. I am the Master Partner for Management Drives in Africa. Our business is People Source Consulting. We're based in Nigeria. We work with clients across the entire continent.
Great.
It's great to be here.
Yeah.
Okay, so my name is PAM SEMLEK. I am the CEO of the Stalwart Group. The Stalwart Group comprises 3 subsidiaries. So there's Stalwart Consults International, which is a consulting arm. What we do is training and business consulting. And we have we do that mainly in the energy, oil, and gas space. So we have an energy company, an EPC company, and we have a social impact company that focuses on education, leadership, and empowerment.
So what kind of consulting do you provide in Management Drives?
Okay, so we like to make it very simple. We provide organizational effectiveness consulting, and we're looking at it from the level of the individual. How do we get the individual to perform at their highest levels?
Right.
And then how do we then take that individual performance to a team level? And then how do we take that, cascade it to an organizational level? So we want to turn the potential that we have in the organizations, the individuals, and the teams into performance.
Great.
Results that you see in an organization.
Right. So what are the challenges that you face, especially in the Africa world? You know that in the Africa world, most of the organizations are not structured. And we face that even in North of Africa, other countries. What are the challenges that you face? I think by providing like the services of consulting, you can help the economics in those countries, not only just the organizations.
Yes.
So it is like, it's not a charity, but you can provide an added value to our countries. Could you please just provide us some of the challenges that you face when you are structured new companies or building some new charts?
So I think one of the biggest challenges we face is not so much there's the issue of the mentality, which is what you're saying, the issue of the mentality of the business person or the aspiration of the business person, but it's not so much that, is the context. An environment that is very fluid, an environment that is not structured. You want to bring in structured growth into an environment that is not structured, then you need to be very agile about how you respond to the situation.
Right.
So we found working with a variety of clients across Africa, agility is one of the biggest things that a successful African entrepreneur brings to the table. They are adaptable. They expect challenges to happen because the environment is not structured, and then they are adaptable to that. So as a consultant, obviously that's one of the challenges that you face, trying to help them solve the problems that they're encountering, in a very volatile environment. So that's one big challenge. The second then maybe links in with the mentality. Now, Africa is, and I say this, I know we've mentioned that I'm from Nigeria originally. We work across the continent. And if you think about Africa, don't think about an environment that is totally homogeneous. In other words, if you went to Casablanca, what you would experience in terms of the business concept is slightly different from if you went to Kampala. It's slightly different from if you went to South Africa, it's slightly very different. And if you were in Nigeria, it's really different. You understand? So you need to look at the different cultures, the different regions, and they are different. It's a huge continent. So if you bear that in mind in terms of the mentality of the business person, there is a different level of uptake for the value that a consultant brings to the table. Now, if the consultant does not see, if the client is not ready, they don't see the value that the consultant is bringing, that becomes a challenge for you, because you're not just trying to solve the problem. You're first trying to sell the idea that we can solve the problem, or the idea that there is a problem. Because he's thinking we're making money. Africa is huge. And we're not where Europe is, we're not where America is. So there's lots of opportunity to add value, lots of opportunity to create impact, lots of opportunity for growth. You understand what I mean? So when you think about that, the successful African entrepreneur is already making money. He's already successful in his own eyes. But it's about us saying, how can we be more effective? How can we be more efficient? How can we scale up the amount of value that we are adding to the organization initially? And when the organizations are really successful, the economy benefits from it, like you mentioned. And then the people benefit from it. More jobs, more opportunities. So across Africa, you will find an organization that potentially can be creating. I love, if you've ever heard about the Tony Elumelu Foundation, for instance, I love that whole concept of Afro-capitalism. But what he's trying to say there, and I totally buy into that, is this: successful businesses are the core of the growth of society. They are the heart. America, the UK, Europe, successful businesses are the heart of the growth of society. What the government does is it creates an enabling environment for that. But the mindset of the entrepreneur has to be right, to say, what's the huge potential we have here, and how can we tap into that potential? So it moves beyond how do we make money and be successful as a business. It's how can we create impact for society. And as a consultant, you're thinking about all that. You can see the end, and it's about you helping the business. Whatever sort of approach, even if it's IT consulting, we're very much into the business side of things and organizational effectiveness. But even if it's IT consulting, development consulting, it's about trying to get them from here to there. What's the huge potential opportunity that they have? How can we help them to see it? How can we help them to embrace it? And then what are the tools we can give them so they have motion moving towards it?
So regarding what you said, Mr. Toby, there's a lot of challenges, especially for the young entrepreneurs. What do you think the best tactic and strategies to help the young entrepreneurs to invest in Africa world?
So Rome was built by Romans. America was built by Americans to take Africans to build Africa. But for Africans to be able to build Africa, first of all, we do have the numbers, but we don't have the resources. And like he talked about what excellence represents, we do not have a standardized measure of excellence. So first of all, we must be able to position ourselves to compete globally. And then we must be able to look at it within our context. So global standards, but we must localize the solutions to address our diversity, to address, our connectedness, our culture. In the African culture, there's more, the power distance is higher between the older and the younger. Respect is a big deal. We're collectivists, so we're not as individualistic as other cultures. We like to do things as a community. And you see some of all those cultural contexts, in a way, are a blessing, because those are values that we hold together. So we must uphold the things that are blessing. But we must help the young people. For the older ones and the decision makers and the leaders, must be able to help the young people to define what being an African truly is. And then we should leverage on favorable policies like the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, AFTA, which is now connecting Africa. Because right now, aside from the culture and things, we're not connected. I may have to go to Dubai from Nigeria to go to Morocco.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, right.
So in terms of mobility, we must be able to what the young people can do is to begin to look at areas that will bring us together as Africans and promote what Africa truly should be. When you go to, there's a Marparium in Boston at the Christian Science Museum, you get to see the globe from the inside. And when you see the sheer size of Africa, we're as big as Australia, we're as big as America. But we're so fragmented in our cultures, in our outlook, even though we're similar. So we must have a point of convergence so that we can grow the country.
So, as you said, I can say that you are more focusing about that there is a problem in our business environment. And the environment was impacted from families, from home.
Yeah.
So, and for you as a consulting service provider, you will face like those challenges. But I have a question. Do you think that the problem is coming from the leaders of the organizational work or from the frontline officers, or both of them?
I think the change was what you're saying now is we have a problem. Change can address that problem. Change can come from anywhere. So the first thing that needs to happen is that we all need to recognize that we are leaders. First, we need ourselves. And leadership is not so much about the position or the status that we have. Sometimes that helps, it does. But leadership is really about the mentality that we have. And when we have the right mentality, we will influence the environment in the direction of what we think where we think the environment should be going. So that said, of course, if you're a leader in the public sector, you make decisions about what happens, what we have as infrastructure. Then there is a huge degree of influence that you have on what our reality looks like. And there is a limit to what we can do to influence you. You understand? So the buck will stop with you. If you're the president of a country and you decide this is how we're going for the next 10 years or 15 years, everything else follows. You understand? Or a governor, everything else follows.
Which means that there is no vision, there is no strategic goals, clear strategic
or not enough
goals.
Direction.
If seriously you face like those challenges with the people or with the organization who has years ago working, what about the new entrepreneurs? So the challenges now is how seriously to build a positive work environment or business environment in Africa world by setting a new mindset, setting a new skills, new knowledge for the new entrepreneurs. Because you know that sometimes it's difficult to change the oldest. If you join the public sector, I'm talking about Morocco, Tunisia, Africa, all Africa. There is a development. We do not say that there is not. There is a development, but it's not enough regarding the challenges of the world, especially after COVID-19. Most of the business are work remotely, virtually. Still in our countries, still in our continents, we are not still able to work remotely and virtually with our organization. Face to face, in person, and they cannot perform well. How it we work well remotely. So this is a challenge, seriously. I think this is one of your role as a consulting service provider is to help the organizations and help people, especially the new entrepreneurs. Do you have some strategies for the new entrepreneurs?
Well, to a large extent, technology bridges that gap. But you need to embrace it with a sense of leading or shaping the situation with it. I've said some simple examples. What fintech is doing across Africa. You understand? Fintech is reframing the way the Africa looks, even from when somebody outside of Africa looks at Africa and looks at it as an opportunity. Fintech is already, it's early days, but it's beginning to change the way the country looks, despite policies that don't support that. Because people can see the opportunities because of what technology in healthcare, technology, because Africa has a huge population. And that's opportunity. And Africa has a young population everywhere you look at. So we have the future. We really have the future. But that's potential. But there is a lot to be done to tap that potential. Change can happen from the bottom up. or from the top down. What you're saying, and I totally agree with you, and as a consultant, we bear that in mind when we're working with clients, working with young organizations. We work with a variety of organizations. Most of the really large, influential organizations do not have young people in leadership, but we have a huge mass of smaller organizations with young people in leadership who have already bought into that mindset, the mindset that I'm painting here. And so they come into their businesses thinking, okay, we can change the world, even if it's just 30 of us, and we can do a lot with technology. So we don't need the infrastructure that is based on policies that are outdated. We use technology to bridge that gap. So tech is a big part of the solution to that.
Well, right. So that's the last word. You can just provide an advice to the young entrepreneurs in Africa.
Well, I think the best thing I can say to any young entrepreneur in Africa is the opportunities in Africa are limitless. But you need patience to grasp those opportunities. So because the opportunities are so much.
Yeah.
Let me put it this way. There is no motivation to be excellent. There is no motivation to be excellent if the environment does not demand it. What is the motivation to be excellent when average is acceptable? Because there's so much opportunity around us in Africa, we accept average. You will make your money. You will be successful. You've got millions of people. You've got lots of opportunities. There's so much that can be done. So you do very little, and people buy into it. They're excited about it, and you are successful, in quotes. But I would want to challenge the young African entrepreneur and say, hey, we want to transform the environment. We want to change the environment. That takes a laser focus on excellence. Anything I do must stand out, not just within Africa, but beyond Africa. And we're seeing brands that are beginning to do that. We're seeing businesses that were started up in Africa buying businesses in America. That's happening in fintech, my brother. It can happen in other areas, but it's because those guys decided we're going to put a laser focus on excellence. Excellence doesn't have two names. Anywhere you take it to, any culture. When people see something that stands out, they know it. When people see something that adds value, they know it. And the money in people's pockets, it follows value. So as an entrepreneur, what are you trying to do? You're trying to create value, and money follows it, and then success is the end story. So that's what I would say to entrepreneurs.
As a lady, I want to provide some advices for the African women to join the business world.
Yes.
And being young entrepreneurs, because we are not just only men. We need also to support the women in Africa world. So what you can provide as advices to the women in Africa?
So everything that Africa represents is seen in a woman, in the African woman. Our pain, our joy, our success, everything that we are is carried by our women. So when we say Africa needs to come together, women don't do well on their own. We need a lot of encouragement to build our self-confidence because of our culture. So my advice to young African women is, first of all, dare to dream, because you can. Okay, I was listening to Michelle Obama in her book, The Light That We Carry, and she said, as a woman, you can have it all. Maybe not at the same time, but you can. So what I would encourage the young African women who are interested in entrepreneurship to do is to begin to connect. Thank God for technology. On LinkedIn, begin to connect with women who are doing great things. Follow them, learn from them, get advice from them, build your confidence, and just go out and do it.
Thank you very much. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Seriously, to join us.
Yeah.
We are all of us from Africa, especially you are a lady, a woman, and this is a great word to the women in Africa, and you support them, and we help them, especially we will be behind ladies. Thank you very much.
Thank you.